Yeah, I will. I'm pretty tired today. Yesterday, my van broke down and was a whole day of kind of tow trucks and mechanics and all of that. So I'm feeling actually quite. And then I've been sleeping in a tent instead. I'm feeling a little bit sick and also just kind of doing way too many things everywhere. But I will see what I can do with the current condition, the current clarity and energy level that I have. Um, yeah, but I have a very exciting lesson planned. This is one of the most, for me, one of the most exciting topics, I think. Um, but first, let's have a bit of time for sharing questions, reports about the last week of practice. So, as a quick review, we were practicing uh, to work with the mind foundation and this mind's um, function of predicting, of expecting, of conceptualizing. And we were working with meditating specifically with this verbal or heard or auditory layer of mental phenomena. Um, yeah, so I'm very curious to hear how you went with it, what you discovered about your own inner voice or other voices. Uh,
I was I really um
your, mhm, yeah,
uh,
go ahead.
can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Um I found the week of focusing on the inner voices or inner voices makes it sound kind of crazy, but the uh, that the sense door of the mind that involves sound and auditory things really fascinating to focus on. And I was talking with our pod group last night that there was just so many different layers, so many different layers and textures of it. Like right after, like the Thursday after we met, I was telling our group, like there were moments where bits of Francine's voice would come into my head from something she said, or bits of Reimar, your voice would come in, and like people who had talked, and it wasn't that I was even thinking about it. I just suddenly was aware that the whatever my brain interprets as the actual sound of their voice, not my voice, someone else's. And of course, we all know that we all experience that, of course, all the time. But to be attentive to it was just felt kind of like awe-inspiring a little bit. And then the times when I definitely have a lot of my inner verbal noise is trying to, and I've said this before, like express things, like trying to put words to my experience, either to understand it for myself or with the idea of explaining it or describing it to someone else. I spend a lot of time in that verbal space in my mind. And then the when I was really tired and feeling that like slipping in between being attentive and diligent and asleep while sitting sort of in that like I call it the hypnagogic state, like right before you start into dreams or something. I could definitely tell that I was hearing things, but I could not get a sense of I couldn't really hear it. I couldn't tell what the words were, but I could feel words happening in my mind. So I just really, as I was saying to my little group last night, it was one of those where it's like I could never get tired of that. It would never get boring to be aware and conscious of and attend to what's happening in my mind. And so yeah, I really and when it got a little too much, I like when I would get distracted or float away, I would I used the body awareness of specifically my ears. Like I would try and really sense what my ears felt like without thinking about knowing that I had ears, which was a little bit weird. But yeah, so I really enjoyed the explorations this week.
Mm. Yeah, beautiful, Jen. Thank you. What else? What else?
Um,
Oh, go ahead, Rob.
no, no, Francine, it's all right. I'll go after you. Absolutely fine. Go.
He's muted himself already.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, so I'm still working with my 10-minute bell, and what I found interesting is um, the chatter is what I noticed is mostly conversations that I have. I have a lot of conversations, and when the bell would ring I'm now at 10 minutes. So when the bell rings, it's like sometimes I was like, no, I want to know how this ends. I want to know where this conversation is going. And it was kind of like, I have to, you know, make that effort, that step back into presence to take a full breath and be right here. And then the conversation was no longer there. It dissolves, and it might come back, but at the moment where I stop and take a breath, it dissolves and it has very little importance. And the other thing I noticed is that I often have these conversations with, and it seems to be like this same, I'll call her a person. I've given her a name. She's Marie to me because she's always in my head. But this voice is just so uplifting. She always agrees with me. She gives me the right, she's just so great. And she puts me on a pedestal. When I am in conversation with her, everything I say is perfect. She makes me right and the other is wrong. And they're actually bad. And, this week I was watching all this unfold and I'm thinking, this is protection. It's a way of saying, oh, you're good, you're okay, whatever. And I felt like in observing it and letting it go, it's like taking a stand, like I am okay. I'm okay. I'm safe. Nothing's gonna happen. I don't have to listen and get involved in the conversation. I can just be a witness, and it's fun. It was interesting to stop and notice just how much is going on all the time. Thank you. Off to you, Rob.
Um, I think I want to get to know Marit, if I'm being honest. She sounds awesome. Um, I really enjoyed this week, Rima. What the auditory in a hearing, that's about 70% of what comes up anyway, internally for me. Um, and I use noting and I use the Shinzen version, so yeah, Phil, because it really simplifies it for me, and I like it. So I was just labeling here, and that's probably about 70% of what comes up internally anyway, to be honest. Just conversations and whatnot. Um, a little bit, not so much images, to be honest, and a bit feeling, but yeah, it's mainly so it really sort of like yeah, it resonated a lot. I found it really useful. Um, And I found that I watched the video of last week's meeting on Friday night, I think it was, or Saturday. And then I loved the TED Talk thing. I thought that was really interesting because I love the science bit of it, you know. Um, yeah, I thought that was great. Sorry, my dog's just started barking, so that's a cue for me to stop talking now. So yeah, so no, it was brilliant. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing, Rob. What else?
So I tried doing this and it's a revelation. So it's also very entertaining. And one thing I liked about it is I can do it pretty much anywhere, wherever I am, you know. This morning I was coming into work, I was just observing the scenery outside, and all I had to do is just be mindful of the my own um, explanation of what I'm seeing. That itself was a meditation. So I, I liked it. I'm loving it.
Hmm, amazing. Great. You're very quiet, very, very muted. Looks like you're talking under a pillow or something. Sounds like. No. Is there a microphone piece?
Yeah, is this better?
That's much better, yes.
Okay, awesome. It's my earbuds. I'm not.
And now you're gone completely and we can't hear you at all. Now you're gone completely, Meda. And probably she can't hear us either. Stop. Meda,
Hey,
hello?
Rymar, can you?
Yes, now
Hello?
we can hear you. We didn't hear any of what you
Okay.
just said, but now we can hear you again.
Okay, I'm gonna just disconnect my Bluetooth. Give me 1 second. If someone wants to talk, I don't mean to take too much time away. But I was just saying, hopefully y'all can hear me.
Yes,
That I have
now,
a lot of
yes.
gratitude for this auditory focused practice this week, like a lot of you have shared. And I learned that a lot of the voices that come up, whether they be myself, my own voice, or those around me that I've spoken with, they're all very relevant to like the present moments I was a part of before I practice, whether that be the day before. So I think realizing that, even in practices in like the busy London airport that I did 2 days ago, or today in like rural Sri Lanka, where the only thing that I heard was the birds and the bugs. The same kind of voices come up, and it's allowed me to feel a sort of compassion and grace to myself when the voices do come up, because I'm able to kind of identify a pattern doing it every day this week. And that's what I wanted to share.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Mm, anyone else would like to?
Have this is not directly related to meditation, but I can't stop thinking about what Francine said. I when you first started describing having this completely supportive, positive voice in your head, at first I thought you were like truly an exceptional human because I my automatic thought was that my voice is often it's negative. It's like battling the negative kind of questioning critic in me. But then I realized you're right. Like and I'm speaking just for me now, not for you, but if I'm feeling self-righteous in some way or like attached to being right or correct, then there is that voice that really strongly reinforces that and has like every argument, like refining my arguments about why I'm right. Then I was just thinking it's interesting that that is true. And, there's all the research about how the negative voices or tend to be so much louder for us. Like we listen to that often more than the positive voices. So I don't know what to make of all of that, but it's very interesting. And I think I'm going to start paying attention to when I have the like booster voice going and when I have the critic voice going, and are there patterns there? And that wasn't coming up so much for me in meditation this week, but thank you for planting that seed.
Great. Curious if anyone experienced, like, is there times or activities in the day where you find that more loud, or even like many layering over each other, or other times where that voice or that inner speech completely drops out? Yeah, curious about that. Roman.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think like the first days when we start this week, it was quite easy to meditate, but then it was kind of hard days for me. And on that days, I only could meditate in the evening, like around 10 o'clock or even later, And there was so many thoughts, like several layers. And somehow I switched just to first like did samadhi and then just go to observe. And then I just realized that all the time I sit and this like visualization and speech and all this was like crazy chaos. And I was really tired after meditation, like really tired, like the head was full and it was like kind of hell. And last 2 days, I again more calm inside, and yeah, I meditate, like bring more attention just to the sensations, to the body, and when I just not trying to observe these thoughts, and when I'm trying to be focused more on sensations, I found there is much less of thoughts. Actually, they are very, so it's like day state, like uh, and more focused to the body. It's somehow changing this, but I also was like, I don't know, more relaxed.
Yeah, great, interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah, all part of the research. I'm happy that you guys really enjoyed this, and yeah, this week. I also find it a very powerful practice, which gets easier the more distracted and loud your inner voice is, which is usually the opposite, the practices. Yeah, okay. So, just to give you an idea here, now all the practices that we do, they become a little bit part of your toolkit, or part of the things that you are seeing in your practice. So just because we move on doesn't mean you have to stop seeing that or something. Of course, naturally, you notice that more now after having spent a week focusing in on that part. And these practices are really like a lifetime project. So yeah, that inner verbalization will continue happening until probably our deathbed. Okay, so then I would love to move on to this week's topic. So you can shift into something more receptive, but still engaged. Yeah, so we'll see with my foggy brain how it will work. And this week's topic, so we've done now the 3 foundations of mindfulness, which cover our experience, the body, the mind, and the feelings that link them. And now we move into the 4th foundation of mindfulness, and the Pali name is Dhamma, which we can translate as nature or wisdom. And this isn't so much like a new part of our experience that we're trying to observe. It's much more noticing things like that are happening everywhere all the time in all phenomena, in all body-mind causational chains and experiences that we're having. But of course, we will still stay grounded in the body and observe the mind working from the body. So the way I will structure this is over the next 3 weeks, we will go through each of the 3 marks of existence or the 3 characteristics. So these are basically the most fundamental, we can call them like patterns or principles or natures of the way our phenomenological experience unfolds moment by moment. And these 3 marks of existence, they are always mentioned in the Buddha's teachings, and they're kind of like the most important things to develop insight into as we progress in our Vipassana practice. So the 3, and you've probably heard them before, and the 3 are in Pali, Anicca, Anatta, and Dukkha. So the usual translations, which I don't really like so much, but the usual translation is impermanence or anicca, anatta, non-self, and dukkha, suffering or dissatisfaction. But we will kind of retranslate them into our own experience and for ourselves if those don't work for us. And for me, they don't work so well. So we'll see how we go. And for this week, we will work with anicca. And we will, in the second half of the lesson, we will also go into the visual thought. So we will keep investigating a particular part of our experience, the visual thinking, where anicca is quite easy to see because visual thinking is by its nature quite momentary, quite flashy, quite non-solid. But we will also work with noticing anicca in the field of body sensations and other experiences. Yeah. So as we are practicing Vipassana, we are moving. This is something that I explained in the second lesson that we had. Maybe you remember I explained this metaphor of the cake, the experience being like a cake with the icing on top and the different layers of this cake. So it's just a metaphor, but it's helpful for now in the fact that we're going more and more into the actual cake of our experience. We've gone from the surface, from kind of conceptual ideas about what's happening. Okay, I'm in this room. There's a bed over there. Here's a computer. I'm talking to people. To the second layer of the cake, which is much more this phenomenological experience. Phenomenological means phenomena. So it means like the sensory events or felt events of our experience. And we've done this through, attending more closely to the body sensations and now also to the mental sensations and also the feelings that are happening. And as we get better and better at doing this, or as we establish the habit of doing this, moving from concept, from idea, from thinking about or being distracted to attending directly, these phenomenological experiences, they tend to break up more and more, to become more subtle, to become more neutral. Our perception, our level of clarity with which we can experience them tends to increase over the long run, right? It might be up and down every day, every week, as you've probably seen. But over the long run, this tends to increase. And so does our level of stability, and so does our level of equanimity with what's happening. And the next layer of the cake that we are interested in, and these are not so much discrete layers, but much more of this kind of spectrum with which we can move within. But the next layer is really this layer of anicca. So anicca, let's for now use the word impermanence or change, but I will redefine it in a moment. Anicca, seeing anicca is when we stop actually noticing as much what is the actual phenomena or the sensory event, and our attention starts to notice more its fundamental characteristic of changingness, of fluxingness, of flowingness, of transience, so that more and more what experience we are having, for example, the experience of our hand in this moment, moves from, okay, this is my hand and I use it to grab things, and it's quite relatively tan, a little bit smaller maybe than average, some conceptual ideas, to phenomenological, okay, here I feel my thumb, there's a wind blowing, I feel a little bit of kind of coolness on the palm, I feel some warmth on the back of the hand, there's a kind of tingle going on, phenomena. Then going deeper, okay, the things that I feel there, the experiences that I feel there are breaking up more and more into a subtler, fine-grained movement. Feels like a movement, feels like what my hand actually is in direct experience when I stop thinking about the hand becomes more and more a kind of movement. And this is really where we start to see anicca, where we start to see the impermanence. And I personally, I misinterpreted anicca for a long time, or maybe I just wasn't ready to see it as much. But I always thought it was kind of something a little bit dead or something like, everything's impermanent, nothing really matters kind of thing. And this is a misunderstanding. And now actually the translation of anicca I prefer is more aliveness or movement, because attending more directly to the experience of the hand, there's nothing which is really dead there or changing in the kind of engineering or something kind of way, but it's just a pure experience of aliveness, of vibration, of tingling, of shimmering, of flickering, of moving aliveness. And that movement does not need to be, can sometimes be more slow. Like, of course, my hand now feels still a little bit warm and it continues to feel warm. So sometimes that movement is more like slow, like a lava lamp or something. But within that lava lampness, there's still this flickeringness or this vibrationness or this subtler movement, which feels like it's subatomic. So the Buddha had also this term called kalapas. He calls it like the smallest indivisible experiential unit. And he says like there are millions of kalapas in the body, blinking in and out of existence every moment. I don't know, I haven't gone through that level yet, but what I can say is that this hand certainly feels like it's made out of a lot of um, tiny movements. There's a somatic teacher who calls this experience cellular breathing, which I also really like. Is the kind of breathing of the cells. We don't know whether we can actually feel it or not, but that certainly feels like the experience. It's a kind of cellular breathing. It's like maybe the smallest thing that I can feel in the hand could be the cells, cellular consciousness, and there's a maybe expansion contraction sensation happening there. And all grosser sensations, all aggregated phenomena, sensations like warmth, pulsing, tingling are somehow groupings of that or interpretations of that more fundamental layer of movement. And then more abstracting is, of course, okay, this is my hand. These are my 5 fingers. So from a neuroscience perspective, I was checking this out a little bit. There's, for example, something called like neural flickering, where the neurons, they are not like permanently on or something when there's feeling happening. They're much more like the electrical impulses, they are flickering. They're not kind of constantly firing. There's a level of excitement, and sometimes that reaches a threshold and the neuron fires. And from a predictive processing standpoint, our mind predicts things more at a higher level, like, this is my hand, and I can use my hand to pick up this cup and drink something, right? It wouldn't be so efficient to try and go to that very base level of the flickering experience. It's not so useful for movement. There needs to be a kind of prediction of what that movement feels like. And close your eye, grab an object that you know is near you, and you can watch your hand adjusting in real time. Can you all hear me okay? Was my internet in and out? Yeah, not so good. Okay. How much did you get?
It dipped out for about 30 seconds. I think my end anyway. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now it's better again? Yes. Cool. Great.
Ryder,
Yes.
I didn't hear what you said after talking about the predictive perspective
Mm-hmm.
did you ask us to find an object? Like whatever you said in between? I didn't
Yeah.
hear.
Yeah. 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 Um, let's drop that example. Actually, it's not so clear. I feel it's coming a little bit from my feverish mind. Let's drop that example. Not simple. Yeah, there's one diagram maybe I want to show you to make this even more clear. Yeah, so you've seen this kind of spectrum thing before, which I've just over here, which I've shared in the predictions. And on the left is more the direct experience, more immediate, more preconceptual vibratoriness. And when we're meditating now, for example, on sensations or thoughts, we're working to get to move from this right side to this left side. And the deeper we are in this direct experiencing, usually the more anicca is available to experience, or the more we are noticing the anicca-ness of it, because there's solidifying or conceptualizing or reifying the experience of the hand, of the body, of the mind. And the important implication of this is that craving, aversion usually happens much more at this thingness level, where things are more things, where things are more black and white, where there is much more a solid feeling of me versus the world, or me versus another. So craving, clinging happens much more at this right side, this prediction and thingness level. And we're working to, one characteristics of that is that of this perception. Yes. Okay, I will pause there, see what needs clarification. I will remove the diagram so you stop reading it and start thinking about what needs clarification.
Your internet is continuing to go kind of in and out, so it was a little hard
Right.
to follow.
Okay. That is a shame. Yeah, today I'm in the caravan of a friend. So we'll see. Yeah, what needs clarification? Maybe just this.
Turn off our cameras, I mean.
Yeah, Roma.
I have a question in this diagram that you showed just right now. What is in the middle? It's like silence, or what is it?
No, that's just the way the diagram was generated. But we can think of it like like part of the cake. So in the middle is just more layers of the cake. So on one side, if we have a lot of conceptualization, in the middle we have more like sensory phenomenological experience. Going deeper, we have more continuous changing, fluxing, flowing, vibratory sensations, and more openness, spaciousness, the deeper we are in contact with experience and less thinking about conceptualizing things.
I don't have a question, but just a comment in the way that you explained it today as aliveness. This enhanced my understanding of it because it feels now more aligned to no birth, no death. Because if there's a sense of always like a continuous aliveness, that's what I'm getting, where if in meditation I achieve the breakdown of fixed concepts or fixed ideas that are very solid in my mind to begin with. And when I break it down, I begin to see the aliveness of them, the constant changing movement, activity within each concept that I thought were solid. So it aligns better with no birth, no death, always in flux.
Mm, mm. Yes, absolutely. And no birth, no, just for clarifying, no birth, no death here. You're referring to the birth and death of a self momentarily. So not the birth and death of the beginning and the end of the life, but the birth and death of the feeling of I that responds, reacts, tries to change, control, manipulate, experience. And when tuning in more to this continuous aliveness, that also starts to fade away, is what you're describing. Great. Yeah. What else? I feel like now like shy to start talking again because I'm worried about the connection coming in and out. So I'm going to more like ask you guys what's going through your head. Yeah.
I was following on what Francine said and thinking about the word aliveness. I feel like that word for me works really well when I'm attending to physical sensations in my body, like the hand, as you were describing, like that sort of specific thing. And then I feel like for maybe my off the cushion, like day-to-day experience and other inner experiences that don't feel like the way my hand feels. The word ongoingness works. Like that is something that, because sometimes aliveness for me feels on the like I don't know how to say it, like positive energetic side, so that like on a day when I'm feeling like what I'm feeling is more difficult to be with or more of a struggle or like a slower inner day, it aliveness doesn't quite feel like it resonates, even though that's what's happening, but ongoingness just feels like such a good fit for me to describe this sense of impermanence. And so the aliveness and ongoingness together really make a great pair for me to describe what we're
Mm.
talking about here.
Mm. And I'm also curious how to find aliveness within those like now, for example, I'm feeling quite kind of groggy and my head, there's heaviness and warmth in my head, kind of pressure behind my eyes, my sinuses are blocked. How to still contact that aliveness even within this
Mm.
sluggish sensation, because it definitely, as you were saying, seems to be tied to a kind of certain perceptual threshold also, like you're able to see it that moment. Yeah, but thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's a nice perspective. Ongoingness and aliveness. Cool. Hello, Natalie. We're talking about anicca. Yeah, anything else from anyone? Otherwise, maybe we'll meditate a little bit on this.
I'm having a bit of a confusing time trying to connect the neuroscience to this.
Mm,
I'm
mm,
thinking maybe it does need to be connected. But do you mind speaking a little bit on how you think the nature that neurons fire is connected to the nature of how our experiences become phenomena?
Yes, yes, sure.
Thank you.
That's the easier part of the neuroscience. So I'm happy to talk to it.
Okay.
And yeah, if it doesn't work at all with the, just write it or put up your hand or something so that I see. So on one side of our experience, we have like the anatomy, right? The anatomy, the neurons that are firing. And then we have what we're actually experiencing right now in this moment. And a lot of what we experience in this moment is a kind of, as a la predictive processing, a kind of construction, a kind of gluing together, compressing, clustering of phenomena plus my own expectations of knowing that I'm in this room, which glues together into how I'm experiencing myself, the world, you guys. And in Vipassana meditation, what we're doing when we're investigating, we're going from this more conceptual, okay, I'm here in my room talking to you guys. Let me start paying more attention to my actual sensory phenomenological experience. The easiest, for example, with the hand here, but we can do it with all our senses, including the mental. Start attending to my hand, and I start to contact more clearly what's actually happening. My hand level, warmth, pulsation, tingling. Okay, now I would say I'm somewhere going slightly deeper into my experience, but there's still a lot of clustering, aggregating, predicting happening. And then the question is, how deeply can I really contact the actual experience of my hand, and with increased stability of attention, with increased clarity, equanimity, the experience of my hand breaks up more and more, the assumption being that I can actually attend to directly to the lowest possible level of what's happening, which might be groups of neurons firing. And if neuroscience is telling us that the way neurons firing are periodic, they're not just kind of on or off or something, but the way I experience my hand, the sensory nerves that come into my spinal cord, that go up to my brain, maybe experience is constructed in the brain, who knows? But the way I think about it, attending more from here, from cognitive, to more directly to what's actually coming in there, what's actually happening in the hand. And if neuroscience knows that they are firing not consistently, then that's maybe something that we can really experience directly, phenomenologically. Oh, there's a kind of flickering there, not a stability, not a solidity of handness or finger or warmth, but much more a flickering and aliveness, a changingness.
That was very helpful. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for asking. Okay. Let's do this for a few minutes together, meditation, and then we'll take a break for 5 minutes, and we'll come back to do visual thought. Yeah. And it's great, Mida, it's helpful you leave your camera on, because by the movement of your fan or your ventilator, I can see whether my connection is has frozen or not. Great, so just tuning into more felt level, especially of the body. What phenomena, what sensations do I experience now that make up the experience of my body? Warm, tingling, pulsing, pressure, heaviness, lightness. Or anything else that does not need to be labeled or conceptualized as experience. But more and more resting into that sensory field or phenomenological field of the body, the direct experience, more and more. Happening in real time, relaxing the idea that you already know this, more with the curiosity of what is this really, this field which I call body. And then let's bring particular attention to the experience of one of the hands. And doing the same here for what I call hand. We need that idea of hand to access it, to attend to it. But what is this handness, or this field of the hand, or this direct experience of handness, or handing as a verb? You can go to the layer of phenomena of pressure, tingling, warmth, cold. Feeling more internally the hand, more on the surface. The outer hand, the inner hand. And relaxing also those labels of warm, cold, tingly, pulsy, pressury, heavy, light, open, closed. And perhaps we can contact a kind of more primal, perhaps, or more fundamental aliveness. Or perhaps we can call it cellular breathing, if that does not create too many images. Or perhaps we can call it a kind of shimmering. I've also heard it described, shimmering. or we can also maybe call it a kind of ongoing movement, nothing but movement. And within that field of movement, or within that field of aliveness, if anything seems to appear out of that, anything which seems more solid, coagulated, more gross, like a sensation of pressure or warmth, you can just kind of have a closer look and see if you can even there recognize that movement, that aliveness within the hand. And it's important, it's not something which is imposed. It's more a kind of bottom up. The most direct way is just to keep checking. What is this really? What is this really? And relaxing whenever you think you know it. From there, just noticing the difference in perception of the left and right hand. And then also noticing if within the other hand or within both hands, contacting more the movement, the aliveness, which is always there. Doing so by relaxing the notion that I already know what is this, or I know what I'm looking for. Much more with the attitude of welcoming what is this really, without needing to find an answer. Great, and just to see if this also works with other feelings, pick the feeling in your body which feels most solid, perhaps contracted, perhaps dissatisfying in some way. Perhaps it's in one of the emotional centers, or particular pain in the body, or discomfort, or tension. And then with the same open mind, what is this really? Perhaps that sensation which you initially targeted becomes more slippery, moves around, wiggles around, eludes you. Perhaps it jumps, or perhaps you maybe contact it more deeply and contact any sense of movement or aliveness there where you thought it was. Awake, live sensation. Okay, and relaxing that whole body and opening the eye. Okay, thank you. Let's take a 5-minute break and we'll be back for more. See you in 5 minutes. 14 past. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Yes, great. During these breaks, I always go to my son, who is the embodiment of awake aliveness. Okay. Now I have an ice pack for my phone because I think the issue is that it's overheating, which is why the hotspot gets worse. And it was also nice just now to cool my face. Okay. Yeah, maybe just 5 minutes. How was that for you just now? Some subtle nodding.
I felt that the more I was attuned to whether it be my hand or my foot, wherever I chose, I was able to acknowledge that there was aliveness and movement, but after some time, it kind of felt like a neutral feeling tone. So I'm still kind of learning how to like feel something that's neutral, but also understand that it's not stagnant, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Hmm. Why does neutral mean stagnant?
I think it's a prediction.
Mm.
So
Mm.
yeah,
Hmm. Yeah.
something I just associate with being neutral from my past experiences. But yeah, I'm look forward to seeing how I can take that apart.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Just to clarify, aliveness doesn't mean it's like amazing fireworks, blissful party or something. It's just a kind of like subtle tingle or something, which can be is more neutral than it is pleasant for me at least.
Yeah, like a lava lamp. So,
Yeah, or or the glittering of the ocean or something.
okay, like a very still water. Yeah, thank you.
Uh, More the glitter when the sun reflects off it.
Okay, I guess I wasn't listening carefully to what you were saying, but I can see that now. Thank you, everyone. I'd love to hear how this went for you as well. I feel like I learn a lot from hearing other people share how it's going for them.
Krista, you unmuted earlier also.
Yeah. Um, I felt I focused on my right hand and felt just an incredible amount of sensations and just constantly changing and so much variety, which I'm not, I, usually it's harder for me to feel that. It was like a symphony orchestra. I don't know. There's a lot going on. Um, and I felt like I was able to let go of just really be in it and not in my brain experiencing it. So I kind of got there. And then when you asked us to shift at the end and feel the other hand felt like diametrically up. It was just completely different, like a completely different feeling and hard. I had a hard time accessing what I was feeling in the other hand. So then I was trying to just sort of feel both of them at the same time, and that kind of worked, although it was a lot less granular that way. Um, it was just interesting and I don't think my hands normally feel that different, but they were like really, really different. And I chose to go with the right one initially because I just knew it was a much stronger feeling in that one at the moment. Um, but it's like my ability to perceive the phenomenon in the left hand. I felt like it almost like it turned off when I switched a little bit. It's interesting. I don't know. So there's a lot going on for me in that exercise.
Yeah, interesting. Maybe one more. Aroma.
Yeah, I'm still reflecting on your first comment about like that this aliveness, like a stillness, it's something like inside of me. I don't know. Maybe it's Vedana. Um, when I feel it, it's for me kind of not the right word is trembling, but maybe the right word is awe. Like
Hey, what?
Ave. I don't know if I know English enough good. Ave, like kind of like trembling, but another meaning Ave. I just
I, I don't know that word. And I just saw also some native speakers
mm,
kind of not sure what that means.
yeah, like kind of it's not a trembling, but it's something kind of emotional trembling, like um I don't know, like yeah, I don't know
Hmm.
how explain it in English, but and I don't know if it's like more like what I'm doing, or it's just experience because it feels like more that it feels so good, like so. And then I'm thinking if about your comment about the stillness,
I don't think I said it was like stillness.
like a calm water, I don't know, or something like in
Yeah, yeah,
the previous,
water, but not in the sense of the water itself, but that was just the image of it, of the, when you look at like ocean water or something, and the light shines on it, and it's like sparkling. The light reflecting is like sparkling, like super fast, and that's what I meant by
uh,
that image, not the water itself in that case. Or
yeah, it's like
or
trembling. Like for me, it's like trembling, but then it's start to be after the trembling. It's kind of emotional trembling, like I don't know. Mm.
hmm hmm interesting. Okay, that would be something to have a closer look at if that feeling or emotion is somewhere in the body and what's happening
I
with that.
wrote the word in the comments.
Yes, awe, yeah, like a sense of wonder. Awe, yes, yeah, can be that can be an emotional response, some or a mystery also, but doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be. Can be kind of like okay, sure, more neutral also. Okay, cool. Will, I know you also had your hand up, but I do want to get to the next part. Mm. So now we will. So just for clarity, you can continue this kind of investigation in your meditations with body sensations, while also practicing to develop clarity on your visual thought. So this is our next chapter here in the Mind Foundation, is any visual experience of thinking that we have. Um, yeah, this is super fundamental as well. And I would say that it's probably even more fundamental than the languaging hearing thought, because if you think about it, um, the baby, the baby first learns more to navigate, or my son at least, he first learns to navigate the world with his vision. Like the moment he can start to discern objects after a few months, and visually he is understanding the world, visually machete, recognizing faces, objects, spaces, places. He can navigate his way around. And he does not speak yet. He does not speak yet. Probably he understands a little bit, but likely his thoughts are quite visual, spatial in their nature. Right? He doesn't have thoughts like we do, right? At this point. Oh, what should I do tomorrow? Cook for dinner later. Um, but he has definitely some kind of mental activity happening because he's alive. So yeah, I think about the progression here as a kind of as language and auditory thought being more at this triangle and shapes level, as in the this diagram here. Auditory thought, I feel, is quite aggregated, languaging thought at least. And I see visual thought still can be super aggregated, but probably extends also deeper into the spectrum of more refined and more direct experience, because it's so fundamental to the way we move around, the way we map self, body, world. So with visual thought, just to be clear, I don't just mean super clear images, like, for example, think of an apple. What color is the apple that you thought of? Was it? Yes. So they're quite often quite a clear image of an apple. And unless you're 2% of the population who's aphantasic, who does not think in images at all. But for most of us, even for those who feel at the beginning, oh, I don't have much visual thought, you eventually discover you have a lot of visual thought. But it does not just have to be these 2D representative images. It can be images which are more 3-dimensional or even 4-dimensional, like more movie-like. So for example, close your eyes and imagine now, maybe not imagine, but think of what it would be like to go to the bathroom where you would pee. So yeah, and just notice what that experience is like of thinking to go to the bathroom. And yeah, you can drop it again. So just show of hands, who experienced that more as a verbal event? Did you kind of tell yourself stuff, or was there your voice and stuff present? No one? Okay. Who experienced, okay, Marcus, who experienced that more as like a visual event? Okay. Who experienced it more as a felt, somatic, kinesthetic? Maybe both. Can be both. Doesn't just have to be one. Yeah. Okay. So there, very simple already. Many images play out in simple acts like navigating through space. Or close your eyes and then feel your legs, including your feet and your toes. Okay, great. And open your eyes again. We'll experience some kind of visual experience there. A little bit. Okay, yeah. So there, it's always mixing in. Even when we're accessing, we have also the body schema, kind of map of our body that can also be kind of visual, because we are used to seeing our body and accessing it through our vision, not just the feeling. Even though I asked you to just feel your legs, right? Of course, this also includes memory. So maybe think of your dinner last night. This time, leave your eyes open. Okay. Is there anyone who blanked and couldn't remember their dinner? hand at the first 5 seconds. Who had a visual experience of that in some way? Okay. Interesting. So, who didn't have a visual experience of that? Thinking of your dinner last night. Not sure. I'm not sure. Okay. Yeah. So this visual thought, this visual mental activity, let's call it, can be accompanied with language, with verbal, as we were practicing last week, but also can be just images. Can be more. We can like call it realistic, but let's call it closer to sensory experience, closer to what you actually see, but it doesn't have to be, right? We can also have visual thought like fantastic or dreamlike visual thought, or if you think through maybe having to do your taxes or something like that, that can also be quite visual. So it can also include these models. For me, that's quite a spatial visual experience, models of how we relate things in space, time, and self and other. So they can also be quite three-dimensional. And there's a whole spectrum here of super subtle, fleeting, like barely even paper thin, vanishing the moment it comes, to like very more stable, you're daydreaming and you're fully like in the movie or trip, or you're super have strong emotions or anger and you keep seeing that person's face you're pissed off with or something. So it can be like really the whole spectrum. And these images, they can be, yeah, as I said, of yourself, of the body, can be more scene like of the world, like more like you looking out at rooms, spaces, places, papers, things. Can be more others. Often we have other people's faces, even if just vaguely. It's often combined with a feeling also. Yeah, or kind of more relationships, more map-like images. And the thing is with this visual thought is that it's learned, it's imposed, it's fabricated, it's constructed, it's remembered, it's trained in a way. The baby does not have so much of this yet and learns through association, through movement, through experience, how to group things. And of course, then we have certain experiences, and those images arise then when we have new experiences, when we go through the world, those images arise. And I would even venture so far to say that we are mostly experiencing our own images and much less of the actual sensory experience. So our present moment experience is often this overlay of what our mind expects to be there and what is actually there. So for example, this last week I posted in the group this checkerboard, and this prediction is very clear that our mind expects this square to be darker or lighter, and that's what we actually see. And so this prediction is overlaid, this perception is overlaid. Our images, our expectations are often blending with what we actually experience. But that's a more subtle layer. And the issue comes when they are quite rigid, when they are rigid and then they're not kind of open and flexible to being relearned. They are rigid and we move through the world in that way, and we often then try to make things, squeeze them into our image. Other people, myself, situations, try to make the situation fit into the image rather than adjusting the image that arises, the map, the model. to what's actually happening. But of course, we also need these images to navigate. As I said, to go to the bathroom, you need to have some. If you were to experience that completely new every time, it would be more challenging to get things done and move through the world. Might be quite trippy. Yeah, if you take psychedelics or something, also this construction, these fabrications, predictions also start relaxing, and there's more chaos in the way our images get produced, right? Like, I don't know, you have kind of experiences and you also don't need to, but can be interesting to be on LSD or something, and you see snakes in the trees and your hands start pulsing and everything is melting the way we are predicting and constructing. And then back to reality, it kind of more feels more solid and looks more stable. Yeah, so excess rigidity and also giving space somehow, recognizing through Vipassana the constructedness of this fabrication of these images, this visual mental activity. It also gives a bit more space, a bit more looseness for new imagery to arise more bottom up, new maps, new experiences, new perceptions to be experienced in a more organic way, more maybe closer to something that feels like truth, that tastes like truth. Yeah. And the second implication of this is that often we also, when we're in a particular reactive or craving or aversion state, we're often reacting to the images that are flashing in our head, plus also the verbal, the auditory thought, of course. But we often react to this. So this is really powerful to be able to recognize this kind of thought appearing and the reactivity towards those. There's a nice, two examples before we meditate on this. They did a study on people with anorexia. So this is the kind of mental illness where people are becoming really skinny because they feel they are fat and they need to eat less, right? And it's interesting because when they ask people with anorexia to kind of draw a shape of their body, the image of their own body, they often draw it much wider than what it actually kind of looks like from the outside realistically. And then also when they are asked to open a door to the size of what they need in order to the minimum they need to fit through that door, they open it much more than actually they would need compared to the control group without anorexia. So there's that kind of rigid, excessive body image, which is unrealistic maybe. And yeah, that's just an interesting example, but kind of we can apply that to many areas, not just with the body, of how we estimate our own body shape, size to be, but also relationships, other people, ourselves, the world. That's an interesting example. And the other is more anecdotal, but if we have some kind of addiction, and we are all addicted to some level on something, but someone in my other call, she was describing how there was a period where she was trying to quit smoking, and she was recognizing how vivid that imagery of her taking out the pack of cigarettes and taking it out and lighting it up and putting it to mouth and taking that first drag, how vivid that image was, and how it was arising a lot when she was trying to quit smoking, and how much pleasant vedana and craving was tied in with that image, that visual thought, actually visual mental activity. And it's quite interesting to see what kind of visuals arise when we are more in this unpleasant state, what things we crave or are afraid of. Yes. Cool. But we'll start very simple. Let's meditate for about 10 minutes and then 10 minutes of question. What was everything I said heard well? Yeah, okay, the ice pack is working. Great. I have an ice pack in my phone. Okay. So you can actually do this practice also with eyes open, but I will leave it up to you whether you want to do it eyes open, eyes closed. The body. What is this body now? No need to freeze ourselves into stillness. Allow ourselves to arrive there organically. The body is movement. Tuning into any sense of movement in the whole body or parts of the body. Any subtle sense of aliveness in the body. And you probably have started already, but whenever you see something, essentially, because our eyes are closed, anything you see that is not this shimmering darkness behind your closed eyes is a mental visual activity, whether two-dimensional, three-dimensional, four-dimensional, whether flickery or more stable. We're still mostly resting with the body, and just notice when it happens. It will happen. You don't need to make it happen. And we are not necessarily so interested in what exactly the image is about, although it can be helpful in the beginning just to notice that, whether it's someone's face or a scene or part of you or your own face or anything else, a memory, a plan. And we often tend to kind of recall it again when we noticed an image. When we notice it, then we kind of re-flash that image. This is natural, but you don't need to do this. You can more rest with the body and any aliveness, movement in the body or parts of the body, and just notice whatever visual activity arises. And we're not trying to make it go away or stop. It's natural. We just recognize it for what it is. If you get too much lost in thought, more emphasis on the body, sensations, and any movement. Visual thought is by nature quite flickery, quite movementy, and it too can be seen in a kind of aliveness. And then remembering where you are in your room, in the space, noticing that also as kind of imagery. And then opening the eyes. Great. Sharings, questions, thoughts.
What do we do
Yeah.
with the images? Sorry, I'm just asking.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. What do we do with the images? Because I mean, they come up, or whatever it is that comes up, and we notice them. And
What did you do with the images now?
I mean, now after I noticed them, I went back to, I mean, I said hi to the image, and then I went on.
What happened to the image when
Something
you
else.
observed it?
In some cases, when it wasn't quite an image, like I also had like just colors, and then my thinking brain hit in and was like, it's the sun and the leaves and a mixture. And then another brain hit in and said, ooh, now you already make a connection. And then after that it stopped again, and then I went back to just being. Like I like, you could say I also felt like went into the body feeling again, but it, yeah. So after
Yeah.
noticing the image, it does affect it for sure.
Yeah, that's it. That's all. So just notice it happening. You don't need to do anything with it. Just like with the verbal thinking, it's the exact same.
Hated the verbal thinking.
You
hated it so much.
Everyone
Absolute worst week I ever had.
really interesting. Everyone was like, so, oh my God, it was amazing. It was great.
No, horrible. Never wanted to do that. Nah, not never, but I need some more. I don't know, maybe in 2 years I go there again.
More helpful to just be with the body because
Yeah.
it would loop or continue or
It was too loud.
Hmm.
I felt like it was too loud. And I could then say, like, I couldn't do what I do with the images so much with the auditive, that when I notice it, it didn't go away, so to say. Like, it was just then getting, I mean, not always, but like I had like these times then when it was like just screaming at me, so to say, but not as words, just like as an ocean or as a wind, like when it's very loud and you are like, you just like scream, or like you, when you are in a conversation and you have to really be loud to get understood. That's like the feeling I got as well, and kind of like this stressed out feeling. And then I was like, okay, you're kind of stressed out. And then I was like, okay, yes, let's try to get down. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
And I
probably
don't
what's
have that
happening.
with the visuals. Yes.
Yeah, it might be. We'll do next week like more felt thought or the energy of thought. That will probably be useful for you because I assume that there's a lot mixing in there with the feeling and the verbal.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reaction to that. But yeah, so to answer your question, just recognize it. But yeah, you can be more with the body if that supports you. Even 90% of you can be with the body. Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
Jen and then Fumi.
I think it's a question, sort of. What I experienced in this meditation right now was with my windows open. Um, I hear a little tiny bit of traffic outside and like a car going by and the birds. And then my cat meowed and came in, and it's like I couldn't tell if, because it was definitely a sensation in my mind that had to do with like mapping and spatial and things moving in space, but I can't say that it didn't feel visual, but I don't, so, but that happens to me a lot when I'm noticing things that aren't languaged. Um, and yeah, I guess I just sort of do have a question about, is that something that would be considered like, is the spatial in the mind a visual thing, or yeah, I don't really know where else to go with that question except that it was something I really noticed and
Mm, mm,
don't know
mm.
what that is.
Yeah, yeah. Um, it's a mixture between kinesthetic and visual, often, because it relates to spatial mapping and
Hmm.
mapping ourselves relative to other things in space to be able to navigate. And is also often mixed in with a sense of perspective, like I'm over here, hearing that thing over there,
Hmm.
um, which I experience more as like very subtle outlines and stuff,
Hmm.
rather than like kind of like colorful image or something, but more like a rough outline of or relationship or something.
Hmm.
Um, and that's quite a fundamental visual thought. And um, what can happen there with the cars and the birds is a kind of mental image flashing, like a recognition of maybe you see a kind of car, whether it's a truck or a small car or
Mm.
has a color,
Yeah.
or with the birds, maybe you see something that's sitting in a tree, or I don't know.
Yeah. 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 That's true. Because like if birds that I can identify would sort of, that was connected with language, but then it would instantly be like an image almost as if it was in a book,
Yeah,
sitting on a tree
exactly.
branch of that, and the movement of a vehicle, I could tell if it was it was like truck or car, that kind of thing. So it was maybe sort of like an outline or just the energy of it. It's just maybe an interesting question or feeling of, well, for me in my mind, that the difference between just the energy of something and is it turned into something visual. I don't even know how to
Mm,
say it, but it's
yeah, yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, for sure it mixes a lot, but nice to notice that stuff. Yeah, cool. For me.
Yeah, I had a pretty blissful experience. By just coincidence, I happened to be sitting in my sort of living room with a big window, and today there are a lot of like cotton like clouds in the sky, and I'm facing west, so the sun is kind of still there, but it's very like coming directly into the room. And when I closed my eyes, it was just really golden, like just really golden. And then I'm like, because the clouds are moving, but they're like cotton, it was giving me this shimmering. I was like, oh, it's kind of like what Reimer was saying about the ocean, just kind of like it's like shifting shades of gold, just shimmering, shimmering for the whole time. So in the beginning, I felt like I was seeing the ocean, like you were saying, the water and the shimmering. And then the sort of image itself dissolved into just kind of shimmers. But then I think I had the emotional, like the feeling tone was this kind of peaceful, blissful. It's not stillness, but kind of very grounded feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have the window open, so I have a bit of breeze and things coming in. So it was giving me a slight sense of like my outer, like the body, but the outer envelope of my body as the wind was kind of touching my skin, I guess. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I I'm just kind of seeing my ordinary everyday things with my eyes open, and with my eyes closed, I was kind of shocked and surprised to feel this this sense of calm and bliss. So that was interesting, the contrast of how, you know, the things that I identify as sun, clouds, stuff in the yard, all of a sudden became this sort of glimmering sensation, like visual sensation. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And just clarify, your eyes were closed, right? Yeah, you said that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So just to clarify, it's not about actual visual sensation, what we're
Mm-hmm.
meditating on. Like if your eyes are closed and the sunlight is flickering on it and you see the
Mm-hmm.
light dancing behind your closed eyes, that's more our visual sensation that's coming in, let's say, through our eyeballs, through the eye sense door. What we're interested in meditating on for the next week is more that what's coming in purely through the mental sense door. So through the mind, images, and probably there was a lot happening there also in terms of perhaps you were seeing cloud or window or light or kind of mixed in there with that experience of what
Like
was
I
going
said,
on.
I was seeing the ocean at first a lot.
Okay, great. So
Like,
that's something to just recognize. That's where we're practicing the Vipassana with noticing those. And yeah, the fact that it was blissful, nice. But it doesn't need to be and
yeah,
have to be.
I know.
And yeah,
And
great.
often for me, it's not that blissful. So, like when I'm meditating,
Okay.
so it was a bit of a surprise.
Okay.
And in my mental, it tied directly into the ocean that you're talking about. And I was feeling like I was seeing this surface of the ocean kind of glimmering, like glitter of the ocean. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay, nice. Yeah, careful of that image also rising now that I've implanted it in your head, in your meditations. Cool. I want to recognize it's 6:02. I will continue to take time for the questions that come up for maybe 10 minutes or so. But yeah, if you need to leave, thank you for being here. The recording will also be up. Yes, thank you, Francis. Okay. Linda.
Yes, I was wondering when you practice currently, like in today or recently, when you're noticing your visual thoughts and auditory thoughts, I don't know if thoughts is the right word, or vision and audition that your mind imagines or creates itself. Do you notice them together, or are you able to distinguish them and notice them separately? Is my question. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting question. For now, I seem to only be able to kind of note one at a time, even if they happen in quick succession or together. And often my thoughts will be both somehow, but it seems one is always more predominant slightly, which is the one that I would note or notice more from a Vipassana perspective, when I'm intentionally trying to do it.
Thank you.
And they're always quite multisensory. I mean, they also include feeling and yeah, a lot of stuff.
I won't be here for week 6 or 7, so
Okay.
I'll be doing actually a Vipassana.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
yeah. Thank
Goenka
you.
or
Yeah. Goenka in Nagampaha, Sri Lanka, in the northern part of Sri Lanka, at Dhamma Dharani. So that's where I'll be June 4th to 15th. So
great. Getting deep into the body sensations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you prefer Sayadaw, but I know there's
I,
always something to learn with everything. So,
absolutely. Yeah. No, I've done Goenka also a lot and I love it. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Sounds good. Hope you all have a good rest of your evening or morning. It's evening for me. But yeah, take care.
Take care, Vida.
And thank you, Raimar. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else from anyone?
I have one question. I was thinking that when I have more of like a bit of a negative kind of feeling tone or something, it will often come with like thoughts or like the auditory, but almost I think almost never image. And but then when I start to more do like when I notice sensation from like walking in the forest, for example, or noticing kind of some sounds or something like an actual feeling from the body or sensation, um, then images come more easily. And
Mm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I was thinking, oh, like it feels like the fear, for me at least, it's not very attached to image, but
Mm.
it's like a lot of like voice, in the
Mm.
head.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah. 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 Cool. Interesting. Good to know.
yeah.
Good to know. Then you know that that's what you kind of need to watch out for when you're in that state.
Mm-hmm.
And also, but also, and also, be open to maybe there are images there, but
Right.
maybe the verbal auditory stuff is just much more louder.
Mm-hmm.
But for example, with fear, perhaps you are picturing or imagining scenes or things that you are afraid of, um, and perhaps that flashes that's mixed in there. But of course, the
Mm-hmm.
verbal is much louder. So maybe just check that out this week.
Right.
And um,
And I guess that's why, like, I mean, this one was a bit of a surprise because I don't really have this kind of, usually, some mental, some other things come in, and it was quite very calm, the mental, like the chatter side. And I had this like image of the ocean, like just a glimmering surface. And I thought, oh, it's kind of interesting because I feel this kind of sense of peace and I have this image and the chatter is less. And when I
mm,
have more fear and the chatter, I don't have like image. So I don't know. For me, it was a bit
mhm,
interesting, this contrast.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm, mhm. Yeah. It sounds like you're describing also the images that maybe are more dreamlike or imaginative or fantastical that your mind associates. Also, when you were saying like, oh, when you feel in your nature and you feel some feelings in your body, then you might have more images. Um, and that's one type of image. And also there are other types like the ones I was talking about before to notice. So make sure, and maybe you're already doing this, but just make sure that you're not just looking for those kind of what we usually call imagination images, but they can also be really realistic images,
Mm-hmm.
places, faces, yourself, and this kind of images.
Yeah.
Yeah, memories. Okay, let's close it there. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care. See you maybe Sunday.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.